Hello, Miami. You're watching 305 Sports Now, your home podcast and channel for all things Miami sports related. I am Will.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up, it's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me.
Hey, what's up, Miami? Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching 305 Sports Now. And today's guest is a very special guest and a very, very good friend of the show. But before I bring him on, I just want to tell you a little bit of what he's up to. He is a producer and the co-host of the very popular University of Miami UHeard podcast. He is a contributor to allhurricanes.com. He is a frequent guest on the Locked On Canes podcast hosted by our friend Alex Dono. Ladies and gentlemen, the person that I'm bringing on needs no interruption. He is CB, also known as Corey Carmona, also known as Chalupa Batman. Brody, what is up?
Joe says I smile with 88 teeth. So now anytime I'm introduced, I feel the need to smile big. How's it going, Will? How's it going over there in 305 land?
Good, man. It's actually a little chilly tonight, man. I'm wearing my hoodie weather.
Same.
We're doing the hoodie weather, man. I love it.
Chilly here too. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like Texas and Florida kind of share weather. When it's hot there, it's hot here.
Yeah.
It's cold here, it's cold there, or cold for our standards. You guys get you guys get a little colder over there. Brody, man, you were gone for a while from the YouTube spear. Okay, the joke on UHeard was that you're in witness protection.
God, I love Ben so much. That's
you guys are
one.
You were on WITSEC, for a while, and I have to say, man, since you came back on the scene, you have been absolutely on fire with your watch alongs and the recruits you've brought in, these blue chippers that have been on your show. Man, how is it going for you?
Sometimes I don't really understand why good things are happening to me. I think more than anyone else that the YouTube thing is hard to figure out why things work and why they don't. It's a blessing, man. It's still at that point where everything shocks me. Like the first time like a video went like really crazy in a day, I was like, what? The first time I had a short that went 1,000, I was like, what? So I'm still in that really shocked because it's all happening very fast. But all I can say is, it's the support of the Canes fam. It's support of people like you, people like Flo, people like UHeard, people like John. It's Coop. It's the collective Canes fam that have made me feel very welcomed and have been extremely supportive. I didn't really ever think I'd do content, so the fact that it's actually going well, it's a blessing, man. Every day I wake up and I'm like, this is my life, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm calling you the king of the watch along. All right. I've dubbed you the king of the watch along because it's like every single day I feel you have a 4 or 5 star on your show, and the conversations that you have with them are fantastic. How comfortable they are, expressing themselves to you, especially about ball, is just fantastic. And the viewership is eating it up. Your numbers have gone up. The amount of recruits you're getting on your show has gone up. So we're very happy for you. I'm very happy for you. As a Canes fan, as a content creator, we all are as well, over in the Canesverse. And so I just want to ask a couple questions, like who have you had on recently that the audience should know about so they could watch your channel right away? Just once they turn me off, just go right to you.
Caden Strayhorn, 4-star offensive lineman from IMG Academy. That is probably Alex Miraball's favorite offensive lineman in this class. He's fantastic. Another one of those guys that learned behind Maui Noah. He's basically like Maui Noah's unofficial little brother. And he just loves the game of football. Hearing him break down the game of football, hearing him talk about how much he loves the X's and O's. And we talked about Mario and Cristobal in that episode for probably half of it. That one was interesting. I think people would really, really like The 2026 5-star kid I had, Aaron Gregory, he got his first offer in the 8th grade, and it was an SEC offer from Kentucky. You'd never know that he's a sophomore listening to him talk. You'd think he's a senior. Mature, head on his shoulders, knows the game inside and out, like understands the responsibility of being a leader, not just wanting to be a leader because he's the best player on the team. Is one of my favorite, just just conversations I've had with a person, and he's one of my favorite young men. 2025 or 2026 5-star athlete Aaron Gregory. He's actually the number one athlete in the class, and he's just a fantastic young man.
And that's great. That's amazing. Another guy you've had on is he's become extremely popular, and you guys are like buddies, as well. And he's pretty much now 4-star quarterback out of the lovely state of Georgia. And I would say a very, very, very hard commit for the University of Miami, and that's Luke Nickel. Luke Nickel is my
Very.
favorite recruit out of the 2025 class. His huddle video is absolutely insane. I still can't get the imagery in my head of him avoiding that sack and still throwing a perfect route to the post to his receiver, which led to a touchdown. What can you tell us about Luke? I mean, whoever hasn't seen his videos, what can you tell us about him, his mechanics, his field awareness, and so on, and the ability of him to go through his progressions?
He is blossomed right before our eyes over the past probably year. And he already had the intangibles, had a cannon. He's always been cool hand Luke, one of the most calm quarterbacks you'll see in the pocket under pressure. What he's shown this year was the ability to be a leader, was the ability to take over games. In the playoffs, the run game was a bit stagnant. They've got a heck of a running back over there, TJ Lester, but he was dealing with some injuries. So what we saw from Luke in the playoffs was him becoming more of a dual threat. 20 carries a game. Bless you. 20 carries a
Thank
game.
you.
You know, when I mean taking over games on the ground, I'm not talking about 3-yard runs and skipping out of bounds. I'm talking about lowering his shoulder for first downs on 3rd and 6 and getting back up and then throwing a post on the next play. What the evolution we saw over this year, the toughness, the grit, going on the road in the playoffs and just deciding this is not a problem. We're going to get it done. We saw the team rally behind him. And then his numbers. His numbers this year are just absolutely incredible. 3,900 yards, 39 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions.
Wow.
He makes smart decisions. He makes good decisions. He spreads the ball around at Milton. You saw CJ Wiley eat, DeBron Gatling ate, the running backs out the backfield, Ryan G, the tight end. They've got I forget it, Tristan Payne, 19, the receiver. It's just you watch them this year, you learn so many different players because Luke spreads the ball, processes quickly. I think he understands football. I think a lot of times guys just have big arms and they can fit the ball wherever they want it. Luke is a student of the game, and he actually understands coverages, understands what defenses are trying to do to him. And I think he's just an ultimate competitor, bro. Like, it was after one of the games we were messaging back and forth because he took a beating, like a beating on the ground. And I was just a concerned friend. I was like, hey, as someone who, you're my future quarterback, are you okay? Like, physically. And like, without skipping a beat, that's what needed to be done, like, to win. I'm fine. Like, it's all about team for him. It's not even about, yeah, but I did it to get 80 yards. That's what we needed to do to win. I think if Luke threw for 2 grand last year and they won a state championship, he'd be fine. He is that leader on and off the field. And you look at the class, you look at the guys in the 25 class that want to take visits because Luke is here, or want to commit because Luke is here. When you get that quarterback like Luke, that is not just a leader on the field, but in the locker room as well, one of the guys as well, it's just gonna have guys gravitate to him. And you start looking at some of the receivers we've had on campus lately, and the ones that are interested. There's that direct correlation to QB1. Even the
Yes,
guys he
of
has
course.
playing with him on C1N, are wanting to take more interest in Miami strictly because Luke Nickel is their quarterback. I think we've got someone special.
The one thing I like about that young man is the fact that he's incredibly loyal. One of the things that I heard, I don't know if it was Larry Bluestein or Brian Smith over at All Hurricanes and Locked On Canes, is that he's very appreciative that he was offered early. So Miami took an offer to him early. So he's been like the Judd Anderson of the 2025 class. This
Yes.
Judd Anderson's nicknamed the ambassador because of the fact he's always posting stuff on X, and Luke's the same way. So as far as him as an ambassador, is he out there also assisting in the recruiting aspect of things outside of social media, or is it just a social media thing and he's just trying to track players that way? Is he out there like, hey, come to the U, I'm gonna be a quarterback. This is what we're gonna do.
Luke will go to last year specifically, would go to a game or go to a visit because he knew other recruits were going.
Okay.
He inherited that from Judd, where it's like, okay, this isn't my visit this weekend, but X, Y, and Z is going, so I'll go help the staff, help show guys around, and also be that leader of the class, be that quarterback that, hey, you're coming to not just put on the U, but you're coming to commit to me as well. I'll probably be your quarterback. When you look at a guy like Wade and Charles or a bunch of the receivers that are taking visits, it's pertinent to have Luke there. And he is that guy that he wants to be at the forefront. When it comes to him and recruiting, he's probably as tenacious, if not more tenacious than Judd. It's funny when I ask him about someone, he's like, yeah, I was talking to him already. I'm like, okay, you got it, buddy. Um, I think that's the one thing that Cristobal and the staff loved about him too, is the loyalty and the passion. Once he said, I'm a Cane, it's what can I do now to help? Do I need to, be here to throw to a guy? Do I just need to be here to show a guy around? Even if it's another quarterback, do I need to be here to show a quarterback, what we do? When you come here on a visit, this is where you go eat, blah, blah, blah. He's really bought into that family mindset that Cristobal likes to create. So that's why you're gonna see Luke at visits that don't make sense for Luke. He's there to help. He's just there to, hey, by the way, commit. Here goes your QB1. And that having your peers recruit you helps tremendously, because it's easy for Cristobal, for Kevin Beer, for Shannon Dawson to say X, Y, and Z, right? But these players know that these coaches want them. It's different when Luke says he's not lying. Everything he's told me, he's been 100 about. You need those people to back up those claims, and Luke has been a guy like that for us.
That's amazing. I'm really glad that he's committed because I do think that he is going to have a lot of Ferraris to throw to
Oh
when
yeah,
he becomes a Miami Hurricane. I mean, Nykar, we talked about it before we started. Nykar, Chance Robinson as well, JoJo Trader, who I think is going to be on the field this season. So I mean,
my
and then
favorite.
JoJo, yeah, he's actually mine too.
That's my guy.
Actually, well, I picked Elijah Lofton as someone I want to see, but I do think of that freshman class on offense, I do think JoJo is going to be the one to see the field first. As far as I'm concerned, based upon the talent and what I saw, over at Chaminade. Yes.
Markel Bell.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes. But I mean, as a
Like
skill position.
as a skill guy, I think
As
so.
a skill guy. As a skill guy. No, Markel Bell's is like 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
And
Well,
wide and big. So
here's what's crazy about that. He's listed at 6'7", right?
yes.
So I was talking to Judd this weekend.
Okay.
Judd 6'6", 6'6.5", true 6'7" with shoes on. Judd said Markel towers over him by 4, maybe even 5 inches.
Really?
He said, yes, he said Markel is not 6'7", 6'8". He said he's more like 6'10", 6'11". He said Markel is huge. Absolutely huge. I think I agree on that with JoJo. He's already impressing guys there with his route running, and his footwork is elite.
Yeah.
His release off the line is elite. His hands are incredible. I think as underrated as you can be, being one of the best receivers in the country, I think he was underrated because of JJ being on the other side.
Yeah.
So I think if you show somebody Tyler Lockett, and I don't want to say he's Tyler Lockett, so let me pick somebody else. If you show somebody DK Metcalf and then you show them Addison, the kid from USC who went to the Vikings, on paper, you're gonna go, give me DK Metcalf. I mean, because they look like Greek gods. So I think that's why he was a little bit not overlooked, but he had JJ on the other side. And I'm not taking anything away from JJ. Both of those players are elite. They're both elite, and I think JoJo will prove that he's every bit of a 5-star, even though they didn't want to give him his 5th star.
Yeah. Jojo, the touchdown in state championship game, the tippy toe touchdown was fantastic. That was an NFL style catch. Both Don and I agree to that. And he, like I said,
100%.
yeah, he didn't get his 5th star, and he didn't get a lot of it, but he got a lot of attention, but he didn't get the attention from the national media compared to because he had Jeremiah Smith on his side. Any other school, he would have been the center of attention as far as
100%.
coverage goes. He's just that good as far as elite talent, great hands, also field awareness because that touchdown was field awareness, the one he had, over in states. He, like I said, I think as far as the skill position guys goes, he will be on the field for the 2025 class. But yeah, I do agree with you. Markel Bell will be on the field as well as far as offensive linemen go. So I do get you on that one. Going back to wide receivers, we know Wade and Charles is a commit. We talked about this before we started. You don't agree with me. I don't think from your facial expression you totally agree with me. But I wanted to go over two guys I started watching a bit before you came on, and of course, it's Jamie French and Vernell Brown. What From what I saw in Vernell's huddle, I looked at Jamie's and I looked at Vernell's huddle. I liked a little bit more as far as intangibles goes on Vernell's side over French's side. French is a beast, but
Yes, different style too.
yeah, but French is a beast, but I do think that Vernell might be slightly better. And my reasoning is because I just feel like Vernell, at least on the huddle I saw, Vernell could make something out of nothing. Reminds me a little bit of Devin Hester returning kicks. That Devin looked like he would be clustered, amongst special teamers. They just finds
Yes.
a way through the hole. That's why I saw Vernell. Vernell looked like he should have been down 10 yards ago, and he bursts and he
That was
gets in the end
incredible.
zone. So where am I wrong in my comparison as far as Jamie French versus Vernell Brown goes?
I wouldn't say you're wrong.
Okay.
I'd say that it's Granny Smith apples to the red ones. It's just
Okay.
a different style of receiver. I think Vernell is just a bit more of a weapon. You know, nasty out the slot, but could also for a smaller guy, he could line up outside and just be an X. I think what he gives you is versatility. Monster as a returner. He's elite with the football in his hands. Like Vernell can make a man miss in a phone booth. You can put him in a phone booth with 3 DBs and he'll somehow end up out of there. He's just incredible with the football in his hands. And a guy like that you can move around, you can put him in a slot, you can put him on the outside, you can line him up in the backfield, throw him a screen. You can do so much with Vernell Brown. And he'd be a 4-star DB if he wanted to be.
Yes.
He's that good on defense as well. A
Mhm.
two-way player. I mean, 1,900 all-purpose yards this year, 16 touchdowns, and just absolutely lit it up at Jones. He's incredible. So is Jamie French. I don't want to take anything away from either one of them. I think they're different styles of receiver, though. I think Jamie French is what you look at as like your prototypical outside guy. Bigger, a little bit more physical. I think he's kind of considered to be one of the best all-around receivers in the class. But for me, I like different styles of receivers. So I like a guy like French and Vernell because I like to have a little bit of different style in my offense. I think for me, I think let's get 4. I want 4 specifically this year. And I think of those 4, you just try to get a couple different styles, different body styles. But a guy like Vernell, why I think he why I do agree with you that he may be a bit more valuable. You can do so much with him. If he didn't see the field freshman year as a receiver, he can still return. He can still punt return. He can still kick return. He's really good at DB. He's played defense. You can put him on the punt team. You can put him on the kickoff team. You could do so much more with an athlete like that. And that's why I think a guy like Vernell may get the edge just because you could do so much with him.
He had a catch, a 50-50 ball where he looked like he outjumped the defensive back by
Is
like
it on the
3
left
inches.
side of the field? They're wearing
Yes.
orange. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was amazing when I saw what he did. I'm like, wow. It was just, don't get me wrong, French looks good on film too, but I'm just saying as far as being dynamic, I was really impressed with what I saw from Brown. I mean, he was just like with those special teams. I saw his defensive highlights as well. He has good timing on the ball, as far as getting interceptions, breaking balls up, tackling as well. He's just, like I said, all around athlete. As far as what I saw. So I was like, oh, let maybe get Corey's perspective on those two. As far as Jamie French, 'cause
And
yes, yes,
Vernell
yeah, he's very
Vernell
smart,
is a
high
very
football
smart
IQ.
young man,
Yes, very high football IQ.
super high football IQ, breaks down the game like someone who studies it, and he that attention to detail, like talking to him, you can tell you're like, not only are you coach well, but you take the coaching and you care. He's one of those guys. He's a locker room changer. Like you want guys like that in your locker room, regardless if he runs the 4-3 or not. You want a guy like Vernell in your locker room.
Well, I hope we get Vernell in our locker room. I'll tell you that much. that's,
Boy, do I hope so. Like I said,
that's
I
one.
want 4, and he's
Yeah,
he's one of my 4.
yeah. I would like French too. Obviously, I like Vernell, and they already got Wade and Charles in there as well. So I would like four to be for this upcoming class as well. I do think that we were talking about it. I think this recruiting class is not just going to be centered just on lineman or linebacker. I think we're going to sprinkle of everything this time around just to build, just to stack talent. It's already going to be, I believe, Mario's fourth class. Yeah, it's going to be Mario's
Yeah,
fourth
this is
class,
his
if I'm not
4th one.
mistaken, number 4. So now it's time to stack that talent. And I do think we're going to get some wide receivers, definitely running backs again. And we're also going to get some linebackers and O linemen to help out, with Francis and as they decide to move on later on in the future. And I want to talk about recruiting. Miami had a blue chip fest about 2 weeks ago. It was like 100 of the best players in the country.
Yeah, it was.
We heard about the Vernells. We heard about French. We've heard about, Alvin Henderson, Luke Nickel. Obviously, we just talked about him. But I want to ask you a question. You said you had 2 for me. So who are the 2 recruits that you're like, you got to watch this guy's huddle because that we're just not talking about because they're not getting the attention from the on 3s or 2-4-7s?
First one from Miami Central. He's a safety.
Okay.
I always butcher his name. I believe it's pronounced Sekou Smith Jr. Sekou. Also plays on the Raw 7-on-7 team.
Okay.
Some of the most incredible range you will see on a huddle. If you like highlights, if you like defensive football, pull up this young man's huddle. He plays at Central, so he's well coached. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? You know to play DB there and to play against the type of receivers they play, it ain't no joke. And first of all, he plays for Raw, so you know he's no joke. But the range, man, the ground he can cover is absolutely incredible. I believe he's rated as a 3-star right now. I think he's one of those 3 stars like OJ Frederick and Ryan Mack, where he's a 3-star, but you're gonna look at him his sophomore or junior year in college and go, he was what? He's one of those athletes, long, and I keep saying it, but range, range, range. His range is absolutely incredible. He's one I really, really hope that we continue to build that relationship with because it is important to hit on the 5-star guys, but it's way more important to hit on the 3-star guys or the 3-star guys that should have been mid to high 4s. So for me on defense, Sekou Smith Jr., safety for Miami Central. On offense, it's a trench guy. Zaire Addison is for some reason not talked about enough. And I think it's because for offensive line, I don't think we've seen them cast a bit of a wide net so far. So there's a lot of guys. Zaire Addison is an absolute monster. He was posting clips the other day, taking reps at center and working at center. He also plays defensive tackle, an absolute monster on the other side of the football. 6'5", 270 from Sumner High, and just an absolute beast. He's one of those offensive linemen that you can tell plays defense because he plays with that tenacity. Just one of those nasty guys. And he's got quick feet, super agile, that defensive ability, to be a pass rusher from the interior, to have those quick feet, they translate so well for him on the offensive line. He's one of those guys that you get him out in space at the second level, and he's just disruptive because, first of all, free shot at a linebacker at the second level. All these offensive linemen love it, but he's got the speed. He's got the agility to get to the second level and to get out when he pulls, to get out on screens. I think a guy like this would flourish so much under Mirabal, and he isn't talked about enough yet. He is a 4-star, but I feel like that's one of those offensive linemen that Mirabal gets his hands on him, and we're talking about an interior guy that could be just an absolute monster. Plays tackle right now, so he's got that Mirabal mindset where he's trains in all five.
Mhm.
I just think everything about his game to me just screams Mirabal would love this young man.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys are coming to the University of Miami because they're getting the first hand, they're getting the attention to detail because the head coach is an O-line guy,
Yep.
and his assistant is one of the best in the country. He's putting guys in the NFL and is about to put a couple more in the NFL as well, with Cohen and Matt Lee, who are grading pretty high, grading pretty high right now as far as Pro Football Focus goes. Before we end, I wanted to discuss this one kid. I forgot to put him on my notes. Alvin Henderson. We talked about him before the show started. 61 rushing touchdowns in one
61.
season. Yeah, he's absolutely, I mean, sick. He reminds me of Darren Sproles. You told me he reminds you of Nick Chubbs. I could see it, as well. What can you tell us about that young man? I know you've had him on your broadcast before.
He is an incredible football player. 3,500 rushing yards last year, I
Yes.
believe. 35. He averaged, I believe, more than a first down every time he touched the football. Blazing speed in the open field. He's one of those running backs too with those powerful legs that they never stop moving. Yards after contact, keeping his legs moving, bouncing off of tackles. He's got fantastic vision and he wants it. He won running back of the year in his state his sophomore year. Looked at that trophy and asked himself, how could he do better? So he wrote down goals. He said, I want 50 touchdowns. I want 3,000 rushing yards. I want to better myself from last year. He accomplished that. Won the running back of the year award again. I talked to him that night. I had him on for the interview. I was like, how did that feel? He was like, it feels, I want to do it again. Now I'm already writing next year's goals because I want to surpass this. And it's not just writing the goals, he keeps himself accountable. Student of the game, another one that's a student of the game and absolutely loves the staff. Came down here to see the staff. They've been up there to his school to see him, and then they went to see him the other day again at his school. Loved Coach Cristobal, ranted and raved about Dennis Smith. He said he just felt like home when he got down there. And this is a guy that's used to playing in the wing T. He's
Yeah.
used to basically being in the Wildcat. So imagine, and he's had to teach himself patience because he's so much faster than everybody. Early on, he'd take the snap and just go. Well, he learned that that's 6 yards. But if I wait and I let these blocks set up and I can find me a crease, that's a 60-yard touchdown.
Mhm.
So he's taught himself how to be more of a patient runner. When he translates to our offense or to an offense in college, when someone's handing him the football and the blocks are already set up, he doesn't have to force himself to be patient. Imagine, imagine the world that's going to open up for him when he's like, oh, I don't have to 1-2 Mississippi this. I can actually hit this. He's a fantastic football player and a natural runner. When you watch him, you can just tell he's just a natural runner. The vision is absolutely elite. But what I like about him is he doesn't rest on anything he's done, on any single accomplishment. Not one offer, nothing. Everything is, how do I top that? How do I better that? 3,500 yards. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. But how do I do better than that next year? What can I be a better blocker? I want to run more routes next year. Yeah, I may not better it by getting 3,600 yards, but can I get 600 yards receiving and be a more all-around back? That's the kind of mindset he has as a football player. And those are the kind of guys that Cristobal gravitates to, the kind of guys that Cristobal recruits. They're smart, they're hungry, they're driven, and they have a passion for football that just like it oozes off of them. You start talking to him about football, Alvin's face lights up like a kid on Christmas. And it's just talking about a guard tackle pull. And he's like, he gets energetic just to tell you about a guy who set the edge for him one time. He is one of those guys that no matter rain, sleet, hail, snow, he gives you that 100. If it's a 300-yard game, he's happy. If it's a if it's a 350, he's happy, but he's still trying to one up both of those. Every performance, he writes down everybody he's played. So if he got 200 yards last year, he holds himself accountable. Hey, I had 7.8 against this team last year. I told myself I'd be better. It's got to be 7.9 or better. He holds himself accountable for everything he does. And it's not even to chase records because he even said, like, when they were calling out his stats to give him his award, he was like, damn. It's like, because he even said, he's like, when you're doing it, obviously he's keeping up with it, but that's not the goal. The goal is state. The goal is there's other team goals that you have in mind. He wanted to win Gatorade Player of the Year. He wanted to win a state championship. So he never really thought how impressive that stat line was until he heard them say it when he gave them his award. And that's when he had his moment where he was like, okay, I earned that. And he said he gives himself about a day and a half to celebrate anything. If it's a victory, if it's anything, if it's a loss, about a day and a half, back to work. That kind of mindset, he could play backgammon. He's going to be successful at. It's those kind of guys that you can tell that's the culture Cristobal's trying to create, that he has created. Guys like Mark Fletcher, guys like CC, guys like JoJo, guys like I'm trying to think of some of the newer guys that came in to change the culture here. Even Kiko, who came over from Washington,
Mhm.
Damari Brown, these guys that are elite but have the elite work ethic to back it up. That's how you build a championship roster. And Hendo is one of those backs that if you're trying to build a championship roster, that's probably somebody you need in your locker room. Just because he's always going to give you 110 and he's always going to demand the best out of himself. When you see a guy with 3,500 yards, you're thinking, this dude's probably full of himself, man. Like he probably has a nickname for himself and merch and all kind of stuff. And then you talk to him about 3,500 and he tells you the couple games that I got tackled and I probably should have broke one, or some guy caught me, or I missed a block. And you're like, missed a block? Didn't you have 6 touchdowns? And he's like, yeah, but I missed a block in the second quarter. He's that kind of guy.
What do you think made him such a perfectionist, though? You think it's just ingrained in him? Is it the way he grew up? Is it his coaching?
It's the surroundings. He's got 2 uncles that love the game, and they hold him accountable for everything. I'm talking everything. He said if he runs a sprint, and because his uncles have known him since he was a kid, so they can tell him, like, "Your your coach don't know it, but I know that you're not really tired." Like, "Why'd you tap your head to come out?" It's the people hold him they hold him accountable like that. "I thought we worked on cardio. Is your cardio not up? So then we need to do more He's got people in his corner that 600 yards and 4 touchdowns in a game, and they're telling him, "Okay, like, we celebrate that tonight, and then tomorrow it's weight room." It's the people he surrounds himself with. It's his uncles, it's his family. It's those people that keep him very humble. And honestly, I like to ask recruits, "What's your why?" His why was just he's just driven. He loves the game of football. He said his why is that he loves this. He wants to be the best he can at it. And I think that's what keeps him focused. But he also it's not just it's a village, right? It takes a village.
Mhm.
So it's everyone around him. It's those people that hold him accountable. But and the last thing I'll say about this is the best thing about a guy like that, about a young man like that, you have to allow those people to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Those are uncles, you know what I mean? They're not mom, they're not dad. You can easily say, like, "Stop texting me," or "I'm not answering that." But right after a game, he's with them watching film. He allows these people in his life to hold him accountable no matter how good he does. He got the Nick Saban offer when he was in like the ninth grade. He never looked then at his coaches and was like, Don't tell me what to do. I'm him. I'm the number one running back in the class." He allows the people around him to still check him, and I think that's what makes him special.
Yeah, the culture's definitely changing in Miami, especially with the player personnel Coach Cristobal's brought in. Not just with player personnel, also with coaching as well. These coaches have been very instrumental in the lives of these young men. They love their coaches, their position coaches as well,
They
whether
do.
it's Jason Taylor, whether at the time was Ice Harris Jr. As well, Kevin Beard. The kids love Kevin Beard as well. So I think the on-field stuff, if it can get worked out as far as decision making goes, there's in the next couple of years, UM is gonna be a player just because of who they have on and the coachability they have on and the staff they have on as well. Corey, Chalupa, CB, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very, very grateful that you're on. Thank you for taking the time. I don't think you
Oh,
sleep.
I always got time. I don't. but I always got time for you, bro.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Always.
Same here, man. If you ever want me to come on your show, love to come
Oh,
on
you
whenever.
know what's happening this year when we got our halftime streams.
Oh,
You know it.
absolutely. That was
You
so much
know it.
fun.
They
My
were.
my favorite moment, because sometimes I can be a little buttoned up, I'll admit it, was when you and Hoodie Girl I'm there sitting there, and then you and Hoodie Girl bust out with your snacks. And I'm like, I don't have Cheetos on myself here. I have water.
But that's always my goal on my channel is like, how do I get you closer to you? You know what I mean? Like, how do I get you closer to being yourself as much
Yeah,
as
yeah.
possible?
Absolutely.
Like even with the recruits, I'm like, okay, this young man's he's very buttoned up at first. Like I'm gonna crack a joke. Like I'm gonna make something that's not supposed to be funny. Like I'm gonna find the DB that you shook and I'm gonna make a joke about it. Like I want anyone to just be themselves. And I think
Yeah.
I learned that from being on channels like this, from being on with you, from being on with Flo, from being on with Cafecito, where it's like, no, just be because when I first started this, I'm like, oh, should I talk a certain way? And they're like, no, just be yourself. Like you talk a lot and you're weird. Just do that. And I'm like, and I learned that from you guys, and I try to bring that to my channel as well. It's that make people feel comfortable thing. You guys have always made me feel comfortable, so I'm like, I want to make somebody feel like how when with Will, I learned from you. Sometimes it's better to the first time we did one of these, they don't know this. We know this.
Okay.
We talked for about 2 hours before the first one we did.
Brother, I
We
think it was
talked.
almost 4.
It was almost yeah. We talked
Yeah,
for
we did 1 hour. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we did 1 hour just chatting. And we did 40 minutes, by the way, before we went on air. We did 1 hour. Our episode was like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours long, because we started talking about comic books as well.
yeah.
And then we did another hour
Another
as
hour.
well. So we did
Yeah.
almost 4 hours. My wife is like, at what time did you go to bed? I'm like, I think I went to bed like at
Same.
2 a.m.
And Steph was like, when I went to bed, she was like, "Are you just coming to bed?" I was like, "Yeah, it was awesome." She was like, "Was the show
Thank you,
that
man.
long?" I was like,
Appreciate it.
"No, it wasn't. The show wasn't that long. We were just talking." But that I learned that from shows like that. I was like, okay, give people space to let that out early when they're new to the show. Make them feel comfortable. Let them get to know you a little bit. I learned that. I was like, okay, let me do that. Because at first I was like, all right, you guys ready to record? And then I'm like, maybe that's why it's taking a second for them to warm up. Let me warm them up in the beginning. Let me talk to them. And it's that experience I learned is from being on shows like this, taking little tidbits from you guys. Like, okay, Will always make me feel welcome. Anytime I do the halftime show, we try to make everyone feel as welcome as I feel when I'm on these shows.
Yeah. I definitely had a good time in the halftime streams. I totally loved it. So thank you again for having me on during that time. I'll definitely be on during the season as well. I wish the season would start today because I'm dying to see
Me
Cam Ward
too.
sling that rock, man. I'm
Me
so
too.
excited about that and seeing the receiving core just go out there, have a good time, and the offensive line, the running game as well. So I'm very excited about Canes football. CB, also let everyone know where we can find you. I know I mentioned early on, but let's hear it from the man himself.
You can follow me on Twitter at Corey Carmona. It's actually not Chalupa Batman. It's CoreyCarmona. I might need to change that, but that's my Twitter. YouTube is youtube.com/Chalupa Sports. But if you type in Chalupa Batman in the search channel, you'll find my videos. Also, the UHeard Pod. Subscribe to the UHeard Pod. New episodes twice a week. We've been going live more so lately. So live on Wednesday, live on Sunday. We're starting to do our top 5 at each position, basically creating our starting lineup by forcing ourselves to argue on who the best is at each position group. And if you put 3 Canes fans in a room and try to make them agree on something, it will create interesting content. And so we've been doing that lately. So check that out. And I always say anytime anyone gives me a chance to shout out anything I do, support everything. Support Will, support Flo, so support everyone, man. It's the Canes verse is a awesome community of people. And wherever you're at, I'm probably in the chat talking with you too. So
Thanks,
for
man.
those of you in the chat, hello. I'm sure we're always in either this chat talking or in another chat talking. But yeah, and like, share, and subscribe to this. All the stuff I do, whatever. So subscribe to this. If you're listening
Thanks.
right now, you're not subscribed. I know YouTube tells him the same thing they tell me. 80% of y'all don't be subscribed. So if you're listening to this, subscribe to the channel.
Yeah. It's free.
It's free. Hit the
You're
button.
helping us
Also,
out.
hit the notify button because you never know when Will's gonna have bonus content. So you hit the
Yes.
notify button, and anytime you post something, you're the first one that knows.
Thank you, Corey. I really appreciate that.
Hey man, I feel like people just be watching videos and not subscribing, and it's really bothering me now. So I'm like, every time I go on a channel, I'm like, I know the analytics tell you the same thing, and
Yeah, they
you know,
do.
Canes fans, they want to pull up and listen. Oh, I want to listen to recruiting. You forget to just hit the subscribe button. So while you're here, hit the subscribe button.
Thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate it. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from you heard it from Corey Carmona, aka Chalupa Batman. All right. Subscribe to UHeard, subscribe to his channel as well. Also, subscribe to Locked On Canes. Alexander's a good friend of the show, and Corey is a frequent visitor on Locked On Canes. He is one half of the Avengers with Mel, aka Hoodie Girl, as well. Also, if you want to read some of his stuff as well, he is a writer for the UHeard podcast. UHeard has a website. Take a look at that as well. Great content on there as well. And allhurricanes.com. He's also a frequent contributor there as well. Ladies and gentlemen, before I go, I also want to announce I'm not done yet with having content creators on, because Thursday night, airing Friday mid-morning, I will be having Bobby from the Fins Talk Sports Network.
Go!
We'll be breaking down Miami's new DC from the former Baltimore Ravens defensive line coach, Anthony Weaver. Plus, also, he'll be giving his perspective on the NFL draft as well. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you heard, please, like Chalupa said, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to 305 Sports Now. Once again, I am Will for Chalupa Batman. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. God bless you soon. Go Canes. All about to you. Bye-bye, guys.